Is video log 1 of the new semester. Pretty crazy. I am in my pajamas right now. I'm bumming it on a Sunday and it feels so amazing. I hope all of my Sundays look like this. But today I'm going to talk about how I define research, what would prompt me to research a problem, and when I encounter a problem, how would I think about it? So research is it's hard to define because I am in a science-related major, genetics, but then I also do RA and PDF work, and that is the social research side. So in my science labs and classes, we talk about quantitative research and the experiment and the data and the results and the discussion and the lab report. And although it is tedious, it's very familiar to me, and I think that it is pretty effective for the work that you do with it. So if you're looking for a cause and effect, like if I change the amount of water that I give this plant, will it grow taller? And I think that it's a very well-proven way of measuring variables like that. However, I know that social research is completely different. And from the little bit that we've done in the last year, we did the research project last spring, but Marie and Trevor and I weren't very involved in it because we started taking the class and working with the new PDF. So I wasn't as directly involved as I thought I was going to be. But from the work that we did, I really enjoyed it, and it's a lot more of a gray area for me because I think that qualitative research being subjective is just a gray area in itself. It's all about opinion and experience, and I really enjoy it, clearly, being a PDF second time around. I think that it's important, and I enjoy working with students and interviewing and group process and like just talking about feelings and experiences, and I think that I think dialogue is very useful. I implement it and I do it because I think that it's important, and I think that it has application in our society. So it's hard to define research because I see both sides of it constantly, but I think research, kind of going off of these other prompt questions, but I think research is how you, what you do when you encounter a problem and you want to either solve the problem or find an answer. Or, it could also be when you have some sort of question. Any sort of question, it's the way to answer that question. So if a question is as simple as like a yes or a no or a simple fact, you can research it. You can go out and look up the previous data and find the answer. If it's a little more complicated and that problem hasn't been solved before, then you can set up an experiment, or you can hold interviews, or you can do some sort of like ethnography, like the reading said, or something like that, to create the answer for that question or for that problem so that other people who have the same question or the same problem can find the answer from you. So I think research is really neat. I think it's important. It's not something that I have a lot of experience with. All of it is either planned out experiments that we do in lab. Just now in the upper level labs do we actually like problem solve and design our own experiments. But so far it's been pretty straightforward. It's just been like following the experiment data or listening to what Becky and Rachel tell us to do along the lines of social research. So, I mean, I don't have too much experience with it, but I think that it is a really cool concept, and I think that the work that Lisa does, like on her level of research, and what Becky does some of, and like what Becky's taught us, I think that is really cool, and I think the application for it is hugely important and really fascinating. So I'm excited to get into research. I hope that we have an awesome question that everybody's on board with, and I hope that that more comes out of it, because what I had a really big frustration with last semester was that it didn't feel like it got anywhere. We did all of this work. I didn't do very much work because I was part of the class, but the other people did all this work just to not get enough data to really mean anything or to really have any. Like it set up some sort of lit review because it was then it could be used as like previous experimentation, but it didn't have enough to even really have a definitive answer, you know? It was just sort of like a step toward the right answer. So I hope that our research can have a greater application once we do complete it. Um, when when I reach a research problem or when I encounter any sort of problem or question, the way I think about it is, get down to the basics, and then from there you can get into the specifics. So if the problem is about a greater population, you need to identify all of your variables, identify any problems that you might encounter along the way of the experiment, design a very simple plan to carry out your experiment and answer your question. And then from there, you're going to run into all sorts of different paths. You're going to meet one person who's going to connect you to another person and another question and another story. And the key to the experiment, I think, is to keep it as specific and on track as possible. You can write down all of the other things that you learn, all the other questions that you may have for other experiments, but it's only going to complicate your research if you start asking too many other questions. So again, yeah, I'm really excited about the research, and I think that I'm not really sure what role I'll have. Last year I decided to do coding, even though I didn't end up doing it. I thought that it'd be really cool because I do have more of like a scientifically based mind, and I have a lot more experience with the scientific base. So I thought it'd be a lot easier for me to do the more like methodical, meticulous work. But also, I just really enjoy the social aspect, and I love talking to people and finding out about them. So I would love to also do the interviews, or like the discussion aspect where you tie up all of the loose ends and you make those connections. Honestly, I'd be happy with any part, but I kind of picked coding because I knew it was something that probably nobody else wanted to do, and that just sort of seems to be what I like to do. And I also figured that with the coding, I would get to see all of the product of the interviews, and I would get to see all the cool things that they discovered, as well as do the coding aspect. So that wasn't really a question, but that might be my role in the future research. So this has been video log number 1, and yes, that's it.